Good evening. If I can have everyone's attention, please. The date today is April 24th. It's Monday, 5:30 p.m. This is the meeting of the Paris City Council. I'm going to call the meeting to order. We will start the meeting with invocation with Pastor Bob Bush, followed by Pledge of Allegiance by Ms. Lancaster. If I can have everyone please stand.
Almighty God, we thank you for City Council and all who work for our city. We thank you that when streets aren't smooth, we appreciate that department, though we may gripe about it, but it reminds us of how smooth things go most of the time. We thank you for the police, who we don't need, especially with their lights shining behind us, but we thank you that they're there when they need to shine behind our car, as well as in front of it and others. We thank you for people don't agree with everything that the City Council discusses, because that shows somebody cares and somebody realizes something's happening here. Lord, we thank you that, as many have said through the years, all government finally is local. And we thank you for the diversity we have in Paris, Texas, United States of America. And so we say without elaboration, thank God for America, for all of its leaders, whether we agree or disagree with them. We thank you for this free country, this great land. And in most particular, we thank you for those who are willing to serve through all the departments of the city of Paris. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Bush. Next item is the Citizens Forum. Persons desiring to address the council must limit their presentation to no more than 2 minutes. Unless an item is posted on the agenda, the Texas Open Meeting Act prohibits the council from responding to any comments other than to refer the matter to a future agenda, to an existing policy, or to a staff person with specific factual information. Claims against the city, council members, or individual employees are not appropriate for the Citizens Forum. If you want to address the forum, please come forward, write your name and address for the record.
Michael Glatfelder, 1345 Southeast 6th Street, Paris, Texas. I'm very sorry to hear about the most recent federal lawsuit filed on April 7th against the police for a wrongful arrest. I hope things are cleared up. And I do wish that the paper would have published this piece of news instead of having me up here to announce it. Now, the reason I am up here is number 11, resolution approving the private resale of multiple tracts of bid-off tax foreclosed properties to one or more buyers and authorizing the mayor to execute deeds. None of us here know how much you're going to sell this property for. None of us here know where these properties are at, and none of us know who the buyers are going to be. I do remember this council selling a piece of property for $1. I believe it was in Sue Lancaster's area, the old police station. And you know, that was the hardest earned dollar we ever made, because not a thing is being done with that piece of property. It was bought, it's now owned by someone, nothing is happening. And if you approve this, probably it's going to be the same old, same old. I expect better from you for once. Thank you.
If there's nobody else wanting to address the council, the Citizens Forum is now closed. We move to the next agenda item, which is item number 4B, which is proclamation declaring the month of April as Operation Home Alone. If I could ask Ms. Fleming to come forward with all the kids. Whereas passed by the Texas legislature in 2007, House Bill 1045 designates April as the Child Safety Month, recognizing the need to educate the community about the problem of childhood injuries and to disseminate the information on preventive measures. On August 17, 2016, the Garden Apartment fire caused 121 people, 9 Crockett students, to be left homeless. Many of the students were home alone. It was determined by the Operation Home Alone to increase emergency procedure information for youth so that they will respond with confidence during a crisis. At least one child dies from a home fire and another 293 children are injured from fires. 3 out of 5 home fire deaths happen from fires in home with no smoke alarms or no working smoke alarms. Disseminating helpful emergency procedure information about such measures is an efficient and economical means of preserving the health and well-being of our youth. According to a 2009 survey conducted by After School Alliance, 1 out of every 4 children nationwide returns home after school and have no adult supervision. Operation Home Alone is increasing emergency information by providing bookmarks with emergency steps to follow in many types of crisis in all Paris ISD libraries. Operation Home Alone made emergency information cards in English and Spanish for the home and wallet purse that were distributed at schools and throughout the community. Now, therefore, I, A.J. Hashmi, Mayor, City of Paris, Texas, do hereby declare the month of April 2017 as Operation Home Alone. Further, I urge all residents to do their part to increase safety and awareness in our community. Ms. Fleming, if you want to introduce the children.
Hello, my name is Madison Meyer. Hello, I'm McKenna Cass. Hi, I'm Abby Perry.
I'm Carter Benson.
I'm Brody Holloman.
I'm Madison Jeffers.
I'm Anna Lindberg.
She works.
Next agenda item is the consent agenda. First of all, I'd like to take item number 11 out of the consent agenda. That is not for discussion today. So I do want to respond to one thing. Since this is an item on the agenda, I can respond back to Mr. Gladfelter's one of the questions, and that was, Mr. Gladfelter, the last sale that was done was advertised in the paper, and it was done on the courthouse steps. It was well publicized, and though obviously we are right that we didn't know the name of we did not know the name of the buyers because it was a free auction. Anyone could come and buy it, and I think if you want to see the list of who bought the properties, I think the appraiser office has that list. But it was widely publicized. I myself was there, and there were a whole bunch of people, and I think a lot of properties were sold. And some of them were sold cheap, but not everything was sold cheap. A lot of properties which were bought were actually bought by neighbors who were on the adjoining properties. So with that said, I'll take a motion on the consent agenda unless anyone has any discussion on it. Okay?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. Next, we move to the regular agenda item. Item number 12 is receive update presentation from Cobb Fendley and Associates on drainage project.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you so much this afternoon for having us come give you this presentation. My name is Ted Sugg. I'm with the engineering firm of Cobb Fendley and Associates. I'm actually a hometown Paris boy. I was born and raised here. Started out in 4th Ward Elementary, which is no longer here, and finished up in North Lamar. So I've got a vested interest in this community. We were brought on board, also had Matt Busby with me this afternoon. He was our project manager on this drainage project. We'll be giving you the presentation tonight. We were notified by the city a little less than a year ago to look into the flooding that happened in May of 2016. So we've kind of done a study and analysis. We've come up with our results, and we'd like to present those to you this afternoon. So, Matt.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. Of course, everybody knows about the flooding events that happened in 2016. Cobb Finley was contracted after those flooding events to perform a drainage study on.
Let me let you move your own slides forward.
That would be great.
Rather than just use the arrow keys.
Will it work from this far away?
How come you've never offered that to us?
So after the 2016 floods, Cobb Finley was contracted to perform a drainage analysis on tributaries 4 and 6 of the Big Sandy Creek, which we'll get to maps of that if you're not familiar with which ones those are. Those 2 rain events in 2016 occurred on April 30th. That was 5.99 inches that day. And then 9 days later on May 9th and 10th, which was a total of 5.04 inches of rain. These are greater than 100-year events based on reports we've heard for the short duration of the storms. What exactly is a 100-year event? It's kind of a misnomer, 100-year. A lot of people like to assume that a 100-year event won't happen for 100 years after it occurs. And actually, it's really just a statistics play. A 100-year event means you have a 1% chance of having that storm in any given year. A 10-year, 10%. 25-year, 4%. That actually means that a 100-year event can happen every year from now to eternity, or it could happen twice in 1 year, or it could not happen for 200 years. I believe you can see our presentation as well, right? So in that table kind of summarizes the 2 things that determine what a storm is. You have precipitation, the actual amount of rainfall that falls, and the amount of time in which it fell. So we have 2 different columns showing for a 24-hour duration compared to a 1-hour duration. A lot more rain has to fall if it occurs over a longer period of time in order for it to be a larger storm. And of course, these intervals represent long-term average periods that, of course, can happen over short periods as well, just depending on how Mother Nature works. At the beginning of the project, we received the model from FEMA. The FEMA model that we'll refer to several times here is actually what determines the limits of the 100-year floodplain. The 100-year floodplain is what we designed to. It's what determines flood insurance and things like that. The original study, this FEMA model, was in 1983, and it was updated in 2011. These were based on the 100-year, 24-hour storm. These are based on publicly available USGS information, and we'll get more to that in a second. And that's how they develop what the floodplain is. That determines who's required to purchase flood insurance. We performed an on-the-ground topographic survey and used that updated information to produce an updated model. What you see here is 2 different floodplains. The green shown is the actual effective FEMA floodplain today. If you go get the floodplain from FEMA and look at the map, the green line and that green area is what you will see. That's the floodplain as of today. The red floodplain shown is our updated model. That is based on present day conditions and fully developed areas. So you can see there's a drastic reduction there. That right off the bat is good information. We've performed that modeling and that's done. Again, these analyses are based on the 100-year event, and going forward to compare the different construction alternatives, we're going to compare the construction alternatives to the red floodplain. That's the present day floodplain. Alternative 1, we wanted to see if the culverts were the problem. We looked at replacing all the culverts. It helps, but it does not solve the problem of flooding throughout the neighborhood. The benefit of replacing just the culverts is disproportionate to the cost. Here we can see a map of that alternative. North is to the left. Sorry, I rotated you 90 degrees, but it's so we could get it all on one. The red, again, is a revised existing conditions floodplain. That's the present day floodplain. The yellow is the floodplain after removing and replacing all the culverts in the ground. You can see there's not much benefit. There's some near Culbertson, just upstream of Culbertson, that is to the left. And that's the largest positive effect in this alternative. So again, this helps, but it doesn't solve the problem. This tells us that we have a channel conveyance problem. It's not the bottlenecks at the culverts. The problem is that the water can't get down the channel fast enough, not through the culverts. So that's the next thing we looked at. We said, okay, let's replace all the culverts, and then let's widen the channel so we can get that water out faster. The first way we tried doing that is with a normal concrete lined V-shaped channel. This is wider than the existing channel is the problem. So we have conflicts with existing roads and utilities, as well as people's backyards. This channel is in a residential neighborhood, and if you make the channel wider, it takes people's backyards away. This requires additional easements and or right-of-way. And that's a cost. And it doesn't contain the 100-year event. The 100-year event is what we're looking at. It doesn't contain the 100-year event. This is a map of that alternative. You can tell it significantly reduces the floodplain again. But we're taking out people's backyards, putting in a wider channel, replacing all the culverts. Alternative 3, let's replace all the culverts, and then let's make the channel bigger. But instead of making the channel wider, let's just take the existing vertical walled channel and make it deeper. That's the other way we can make them flow more water. So we got deeper vertical walls, concrete line channel all the way down it. Minimal additional right-of-way and easements are required, but it's extremely expensive. If you've ever had to put in a retaining wall at your house, you know how expensive soil retaining walls can get. And that's essentially what you have to do to make the channel deeper. It's so deep you have to put in a retaining wall, 10 feet, 12 feet in some places. But it does contain the 100-year event. Here's a map of that alternative. You can barely see it on the map.
Can you please go back to the first alternative?
Sure. Here or the map?
Yeah, just 1 second. Okay, the map.
For clarification on the map, what you're looking at, the yellow on the map is the floodplain of the proposed alternative. So where you see red on the map that's not covered up with yellow, that's areas we have improved. That's where we have drawn the floodplain in by these alternatives. On a few of the alternatives, which he hasn't gotten to yet, you will see yellow where there is no red. And that's very bad because now we're flooding an area that's not been flooded. So I kind of wanted to explain what you're looking at on that. So the red's not going to change because that's the baseline, but the yellow will. And what you're looking for in those maps is that yellow to get as small as possible. You want that yellow to be within the channel.
Second, please. Okay.
Map? Alternative 3, vertical walls, concrete channel, contains the 100-year event. That's the important bullet points. And then the map, you can see almost none of the flooding in the neighborhood. Now, downstream of Collegiate, near Clarksville, that's that S-shaped street, that is, will be replaced with a concrete line channel. That is currently an earthen channel. And then downstream of Clarksville, that actually will just be regraded and widened. There's plenty of green space there, and it doesn't impact the neighbors very significantly. Alternative 4, these are really expensive options. We wanted to try and come up with a way to see if we could come up with a cheaper option. We tried intermediate detention ponds along those tributaries. Detention pond is just designed to slowly release water after it fills up, and that's to decrease the downstream effect. We targeted vacant and city-owned lots along the stream. There weren't many of them. There's only 3. And we could only get about 11.25 acre-feet of storage, which is not much in the grand scheme of hydraulics. Imagine that's 11 acres, 1 foot deep. That's how much water that is. It's not a whole lot. That reduced flooding in some areas, but worsened flooding in other areas. That's not a viable alternative to us. We don't want to selectively flood some people to benefit some other people. And just as a try, we looked at Wade Park. If we sunk the whole thing and used it as a detention pond, again, that's not really a starter. We don't want to lose a city park as an asset in order to reduce flooding, not to a significant number of people. This is the detention ponds along the stream. You can see there's not much improvement. And again, we don't believe the cost is in line with the benefit received from the detention ponds. This is using Wade Park as a detention pond, which again loses a city park, but does improve flooding in some locations. Cost and benefit. The revised existing floodplain right off the top removes 52 homeowners from the floodplain. That's an immediate benefit. The modeling we've done can be sent to FEMA and the floodplain revised. That's 52 properties. That's the second column we see there. All of those start with 52 because all of the construction alternatives are going to receive the same benefit no matter what. The third column, number of properties with benefit. Now the second column is black and white. The property was either in the floodplain or out of the floodplain. It's completely objective. The third column, the number of additional properties with benefit, is a subjective measure. If the floodplain moved a lot and say removed a structure such as a house from the floodplain, but isn't completely off of the property, we counted that as a property with a benefit, even though it hasn't been completely removed from the floodplain, because removing somebody's house from flooding is an obvious benefit. And then the cost is the last column. We have alternative 1, replacing the culverts. It's expensive. Alternative 2, we're going to put in a V-ditch. It would benefit 14 additional homeowners, and then 40 have a positive effect. Even more expensive. Vertical walled channel, another 37 homeowners removed from the floodplain with an additional 30 seeing benefits. That's even more expensive. The alternative 4, the detention ponds. We only benefit one guy. We only remove one guy from the floodplain. We benefit 9 others, and it's significantly cheaper. But again, that's not a viable alternative because we negatively impact some residents and we positively impact some other residents. It's not a good trade. These costs don't include easements or property acquisition either. So back to the floods. The rain events received in 2016 were not 100-year events. We received unofficial reports that we were close to a 500-year event. That means in any given year, there's a 0.2% chance of that rainfall occurring. That means it could happen twice in a year, but there's a 0.2% chance that that storm is going to happen. We're designing to a 100-year event here. As you can see here, those costs are for a 100-year event. These were greater than the 100-year events, and the flooding events in 2016 were greater than 100-year events. If you get those flooding events again, it's still going to flood. That's the bad news. You can't design to the largest event ever. It's just cost prohibitive. So what should we do? If the objective is to safely convey the 100-year event, the only real viable alternative is to replace the channel with vertical concrete walls. That's the only way you can convey the 100-year event through this neighborhood. The 2016 events were greater than 100-year. So if our goal is to try and prevent 2016 from happening again, no construction alternative is going to fix that. It's going to be greater. It's going to flood. It will improve the flooding, but it's still going to flood if 2016 happens again. If you were to build to a 100-year event, you could phase it. We start with the downstream section, and then we start with one portion of the upstream section, and then we start with the next portion of the upstream section to spread that cost out over several years. Still talking millions of dollars in capital expenses every year. The best thing to do right now is to benefit the 52 homeowners that are going to be removed immediately from the floodplain by filing an application with FEMA. That's the best thing you can do right now, today, and it doesn't involve spending $12 million. That combined with regular maintenance in the channel to decrease additional, or to prevent additional decreases in channel conveyance is going to be the best option to do right now. Sometimes we don't always have the best answer. And that's what we've got. Ted?
Oh, I guess I'll open it to questions. Do you have any questions? I'm sure you do. And I think we can explain more as we get into the.
I have a bunch of questions.
Sure.
So my first question is, how were you paid? Were you paid to do the entire study, or were you on an hourly paid?
We were contracted to do the study on these two tributaries.
I'm sorry? So it didn't matter whether you spent 2 hours or 100 hours, you were going to be paid the same amount of money?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not sure where you're going with the
No, I'm just
question.
curious because a bunch of things that you showed in the beginning of what the rainfall is like, et cetera, they may be good information for you, but it doesn't do anything for me because a storm is a storm for me.
Sure.
And so whether the storm was 1 inch or 2 inch or somebody's house, as long as somebody's house got flooded, that matters more to me than, describing what the storm is like.
And I understand.
And so for that matter, it may be important to you, but as I said, I'm not, that piece of information is useless for me.
And I totally understand what you're saying, but.
Let me finish my questions first, and then you speak after that, please. So now, if you can come to your first map, tell me, how did you come up with that red floodplain area? Was it based on going and seeing the properties? Was it based on people coming and telling you that their homes were flooding? Or how did you come up with the red area?
So what we did from the beginning, we started with FEMA's original model from their flood study, which was originally done in 1983. We took that information, which covers the entire Lamar County. That doesn't just cover tributaries 4 and 6. That doesn't just cover Paris. That covers the entirety of Lamar County. We took that information and we supplemented it with actual on-the-ground survey information. So we had survey crews on site and surveyed the entire channel from the railroad tracks all the way up to the upstream end of the channel. We took that information, that survey information, and imported it into the model. And that's where this red floodplain you see here is the same as the red floodplain on all the other maps. So that red floodplain came from actual on-the-ground survey information.
So in other words, you visited those areas, you found that those areas had flooded?
We measured the actual precise horizontal and vertical positions of everything.
Okay, I understand. But people who were living there, were they interviewed? Yes, you measured, but were those the homes that flooded, or is it just a measurement that was taken and they were never questioned whether whose house got flooded?
We did not talk to every homeowner, no.
No, you may not have talked to every homeowner,
Right.
which I realize you don't have to. But my question is that if you say the red area on 26th Street that you have marked, were people in that area where you have marked red, were those homes flooded or not? Yes, it may be in your red floodplain, but I want to know whether those homes got flooded or were they not flooded.
I probably talked to, when I walked the site, I probably talked to 5, maybe 6 homeowners. Those were flooded.
Okay,
And they do show to be flooded on our map.
Okay.
But the actual red line is delineated from a hydraulic model. That is the standard engineering practice. That's how FEMA does it. Sorry, I'm choking up tonight. And I guess to explain a little go back to the original.
We can hear you, but it's better to come to the mic because
sorry.
I'm not sure if everybody in
I'm
the back
sorry.
can.
I apologize. Go back to the first map. Okay, this is the map developed by FEMA. They did the same thing we did. They went out and they did hydraulic models on the creek. Sorry.
You want some water?
I'm okay. I don't know why. Thank you, though. They did hydraulic models on the creek. Their hydraulic models is based off of Geospace's survey. They didn't go out and actually survey the ground. Theirs is based off aerial contours. That's how they do it nationwide. What we did, we took that information and we went on the ground and surveyed. Survey rod instruments and got better cross-sections of the channel. Pulled a lot of cross-sections. We did have some information on what homes flooded, working through the engineering department and through some site visits. So did we talk to every homeowner? No. But the red line is from a hydraulic computer model, the same thing that FEMA uses.
But you did talk to some homeowners
Yes.
in the floodplains that you marked as red. You did talk to some people to find out whether their homes flooded or not.
Yes.
Okay.
Miss Van Dever came out when we were walking the site, which I believe is at,
I know where she lives.
okay,
Yeah.
at Culbertson, I believe. And then further downstream at Clark, at the intersection of Clark. Those are the only two places I specifically remember, but people come out and talk to you. Hey, what's the guy in the safety vest walking around my backyard doing?
Okay.
I wasn't in anybody's backyards though, just so you know.
Okay, then my next question to you is, if you go to your option 1, 2, and 3, if you can pull those slides up. Not the map,
Oh,
yeah. So, option 1 talks about culverts, option 2 talks about culverts and channels, right? Making them deeper or something, that's what you said. So, what I'm curious is, when you already proved that culverts are not the right thing to do, why in option 2 have you included culverts while you're widening and deepening the channels?
Because it has to be part of it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you
It-
cannot
you're
do
building
option
on it.
2 without option 1?
Correct.
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
if
you're
you-
building, we looked at the minimum, we know this is a lot of money. So we were starting low, trying to find a solution for the least cost. And if that didn't work, we kept moving up. So yes, option 2 cannot be done without performing option 1.
Okay, so in other words, the cheapest of the option really was all the culverts. It may not work, but that was the cheapest option? Because that's not what your presentation showed. Your presentation showed that the cheapest option was to build, I'll call it a lake,
Yes.
a retention pond or lake or
Retention
whatever, I
pond,
don't know,
okay.
whatever you use the word that you want to.
Yeah, that's unintentionally misleading. That's the cheapest one to build, but you're that's the cheapest one to build, but you're adversely affecting some property owners to benefit some other property owners. On this map, we can see the lots that we used and modeled as detention ponds near Simpson, for instance, and then up north of Lamar next to the dentist's office, as well as at Clarksville. That increases the floodplain in those areas. In some areas, it was a benefit. Near 25th Street, towards the left, you can see the red floodplain sticking out. That means the floodplain was reduced by this option. But in the area of the confluence near Simpson and 26th, where the two tributaries come together, that area is actually blown out further because of how the flow dynamics work when you're holding water back in an area. So it's cheap, but it negatively affects some landowners and positively affects some other ones.
Okay, so in other words, if you were to try to benefit the people on 25th Street only, and thinking just about 25th Street, if you were to do culverts or a detention pond, it will badly affect the people downstream.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I'm not into water hemodynamics, but I am into hemodynamics. Explain to me why. How does it?
Explain
I
to
mean,
you.
if you have created a detention pond which is just holding water and the channel is clear further downstream, why would it flood 26th Street?
If the channel was clear further downstream, that detention pond would be letting out water. It wouldn't. But creating the detention ponds didn't improve the flow in the channel.
It didn't improve the flow in the channel, but you said that there is a controlled release from it. So it's not that the detention pond dumps all the water out in one go. So if it's a controlled release and the channel is open, why does it flood 26th Street?
Because the volume of the detention pond is significantly less than the volume of the channel. So you have a detention pond that's this big, but you have a channel that's carrying this much water. So we can controlled release this much water, but there's still this much water in the channel.
But the channel will not remain empty, will it? I mean, the channel can still be full. You're releasing water constantly, and so the channel will be still full. It is not like a dam that you've blocked it on one end and the rest of the area is completely dry, and then you keep opening. You can let the water flow at a particular rate where the channel remains full and the detention pond still can be a controlled outlet.
So generally when we design, if we're designing a detention pond from scratch, we would make the detention pond such that it has the volume to contain all of the storm flow.
Okay.
In this situation, the volume of the detention pond is so small that it fills up, and that's not enough water to reduce the flow in the stream. If this was a brand new from scratch thing, what we would do is allow the detention pond to fill up, and then as the channel water surface elevation lowered, we would release the flow from the detention pond at a controlled rate so that it doesn't flood downstream. In this situation, the volume is just so small that holding on to it even forever would not decrease the flooding.
Okay. And I have one other question. You said that you can go back to FEMA and change the floodplain. Well, you didn't resolve the problem. I mean, changing the floodplain doesn't affect the people. I mean, you can change the floodplain, but the person whose house is flooding is going to flood one way or another, right?
The benefit to that, to the 52 homeowners that are removed from the floodplain, is that they don't have to purchase flood insurance anymore. Flood insurance is expensive if you're in the floodplain. So the people that are flooding, that does not benefit them. It doesn't. The people that aren't flooding, though, then aren't required to purchase flood insurance.
So those 52 homes will not be flooded.
In a 100-year event, correct.
Yeah. And so their flood insurance will go down,
Go away.
Or go away.
or they won't
Yeah.
get it. They won't need it.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the benefit of that, because right now, if their homes are financed, they fall in that map. And they have to purchase insurance. They don't have a choice. This updates that federal map.
Okay. So the gist of what I should take from your study is that, number one, you might benefit 52 homeowners by changing their flood insurance requirements. That's number one. And number two is the benefit that we get out of your study is that don't do anything other than clean the ditches.
Financially, probably so. If you want to be realistic.
Yes or no?
No. If you want to solve the problem, option 3. It's a $12 million option.
Yeah.
What we were asked
Yeah.
to
No,
find a
I'm
solution.
not blaming you. I'm just wanting
No.
an outcome of the study.
Okay.
And the outcome of the study is that since we don't have the $12 million to spend right now, the best thing to do at this point is not to waste money on doing culverts or ditches or
You're
anything.
correct.
You just clean up the area.
Yes.
And that's the gist of it. And approach FEMA so that you can at least take 52 homeowners out of that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, our goal was to find a solution, and the solution is the $12 million.
Okay.
The reason we looked at the detention ponds is to find something intermediate. Can we find a $1 million solution? Can we find a solution that removes 10 homes? It wasn't there. The channel just doesn't support that.
And you said that even a big detention pond like changing one of the parks is not going to help.
Changing Wade Park does help upstream, but I know how historic Wade Park is, and I know that's just not an option for the city.
Well, I mean, that's for others to decide.
Understand?
But the thing about it is that 52 plus whatever the number you had written, 19 more, or whatever, what is the number written for? You did not write the number for if Wade Park was to be changed into a lake.
We
No.
did not, no.
Okay, but now I'm curious, how many people will be affected if Wade Park was to be changed into a lake?
I will find out for you.
Okay, thank you. I'm done with questions.
Well,
Ms. Lancaster?
okay,
Oh,
one of
I'm
the
sorry,
general-
you were going to say something.
Well, one of the general rules of drainage is you start your improvements downstream and move up. Because you can make improvements upstream, but most problems are downstream. You run into the bottleneck, you run into flow issues. That's why we had this phase going upstream. And you'll notice in the last maps, we had it phased into 3 different phases if you wanted to spread it out. So that's why we can't just go up to the north part and improve that, because it doesn't do any good, because it runs into the problems downstream.
But I didn't see a breakdown in what phases of construction should you do. Did you write that?
Yes.
Let me see that.
We have 3 maps shown that, 3 potential
No, but is the
phases.
cost base, is there a cost estimate that if you were to start thinking for tomorrow today and start spending money based on upstream, fixing the upstream, that's what you said, right? Fix
No,
up,
start
fix
downstream.
downstream first
Yeah.
and go upstream?
Yes.
Like if we were gonna just do this,
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. So how much is the cost if you were to start fixing it for 50 years from now so that we don't have a problem?
You mean to start the phasing, phase 1,
Yeah.
2, 3? We can get that to you. The total cost is the 12 million.
Okay.
And
All
so it would be
But
roughly.
you would still suggest doing it in certain phases? I mean, you're not wanting us to start on 25th Street and go to 26th?
No.
You're wanting to start at 26th and come down?
Yes. You have to do it downstream up.
Yeah.
We would actually start south of Clarksville.
Yeah.
Yeah, wherever that may be, upstream or
Yeah,
downstream, whatever.
Clarksville up to 27.
Okay, but
Because-
we don't have an estimate from what, if you were to phase the project out in multiple phases, the first phase, which would be downstream, you want to fix first, right?
The cost of phase 1, 2, 3.
Yes,
We can-
if you were to do that.
We actually do have that, but I did not bring it with us.
Yeah, it's just not in the presentation.
If you can just email it,
Yes.
that'd be great.
And like I said, the total is that 12 million
Yeah.
for all 3.
But I mean, it makes a big difference if supposing,
Oh,
if phase
absolutely.
1 of that project is only $1.5 million compared to others.
Right.
Then one can at least
Yeah.
thinking or start budgeting for future.
Right. And in most projects like this, you would want to spread it out over several years.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. Lancaster?
Well, I had several questions. One of them, I'm very curious. I circulated floodplain information from FEMA that looks significantly different from yours. I'm sorry I didn't realize that I needed to bring a copy of that to show it to you. You're not addressing a great deal of area in my district, which even the last rain we had last week flooded significant homes. They're not even on this map.
Our study was limited to these 2 creeks.
Okay, well, I beg to say you need to be looking at mine because we've got real problems. I mean, I went through my district. We had flooded homes. We had sewer in some of these homes. And frankly, if it wasn't for our Public Works Director trimming mine, this is one of my subjects for 5 years. He trimmed those out. It would have been significantly different. He really saved a lot of those homes on 16th, 17th, 13th. Even over on the southeast side on 3rd, we had a major problem which drains from downtown. You're not addressing my problems for sure, or my district's problems, and some of the districts around.
I understand. Again, our specific scope was to study these 2 channels.
Well, if you look at the maps that I have from FEMA, you'll see they all relate.
Yes, ma'am.
And these, we have had studies from as far back as 1993 from Hayter Engineering, which I have copies of, and would be glad to share. I'm actually making some copies for Mr. Godwin. And this is an ongoing problem. Our elevation is the same. It hasn't risen, it hasn't sunk. We still have the same problems, and they're considerable. And I'm thinking, how can you take one section of the town and solve what we have a massive problem? We've got to look at the whole thing and how each section affects the others. Now, I would be glad to supply you with copies of the things that I mentioned.
Thank you.
But this just leaves a whole lot of my district at risk. And I want the other part of the city to be fixed too, but
Yes, ma'am.
we've got to look at the whole picture.
Mr. Jenkins?
That was part of my concern also. Other than that, I have no questions for you.
Mr. Trinado?
Yes, I would just like to see you bring us the cost of these phases, cut them into phases and bring it to us and so we can look at it.
We will get that to you.
Dr. Clifford?
Yeah, you mentioned the two events in 2016. Those were both of those were 500-year events?
Nearly. That's not based on official data. Cox Field is the only official rain gauge we have in the area, which does not reflect that it's a 500-year event. But
But it's close.
yeah, it's close. We're comfortable saying it's more than a 100-year event.
Even if we spent the $12 million in this one part of town, if we had rain like we had in 2016, they would still flood. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
So there's essentially no way we could stop that amount of water.
You could, but it's exponentially
Incredibly
more
expensive, yeah.
And you're designing to an event that has a 0.2% chance of ever occurring.
How many of the houses that flooded wouldn't have flooded? I guess it's, again, under these options, I still was, they're still going to flood, I take it, with that type of event.
The 500-year event's not a typical design storm. The issue at that magnitude, there's water everywhere. And it actually becomes really difficult to determine with this type of analysis where that water exactly is. That would require a detailed survey over a significantly larger area.
And I guess the flooding that did occur last year, and there's been substantial improvements, do you have any feel for how much improvement has occurred from the work that's already been done? Would that have already changed the number of houses that would have flooded in that presumably 500-year event?
I don't think we can
can't
say that it would change it. Again, you're getting into a lot of dynamics that we don't know.
Yeah.
But clearing the channels, performing the maintenance, removing the blockages is definitely an improvement.
And I know you weren't involved in the rest of the city, but do you have a kind of a gut, I'm surely you've looked at the whole plan, do you have sort of a gut feel for how much money we would be talking about to accomplish what we're talking about accomplishing in this one part of town, all over town? Do you have any sort of a feel? Are we talking a multiple of 3 to 5 times as much money?
I won't even venture to guess.
But I mean,
We've not
that
looked at it in that detail.
probably wouldn't be unreasonable.
I don't
We might
think it
not
would
be
be
looking at just 13 million, we might be looking at 50 million to get it 100-year floodplain. Just seems something the city just couldn't possibly afford in the short term. I do agree finding the areas that are the most critical and starting in those areas and moving forward is perhaps what we need to do. But as far as spending this much money in one small part of town, as badly as they need it, I can't, anyway. But I appreciate the information.
Mr. Frierson?
Guys, I think my questions have all been asked and answered. Just appreciate the context. I wish the news were better, but you're just hired to bring us the news, not. So thanks for your time.
We can't shoot the messenger, can we?
Well, and as I told city staff earlier, projects like this are very difficult for us because as engineers, we're problem solvers. We want to come here and say, do X, get results Y. And projects like this are very challenging because we come across situations that either they can't be fixed or they're financially unreasonable.
Right. Thank you.
Ms. Drake?
This is my area. I live right there. And I appreciate the work that y'all have done. A couple of things that I had questions about, and then I have a little statement to make, is I have a gentleman that keeps talking about the baffles right there at Collegiate and, right there at Collegiate, on the other side of Clark Lane. Do those have anything to do with that water slowing down right there and backing up back north?
Want to address that?
Yeah, sure. Those are generally used to slow down velocity. Actually, in that area, it comes out of the culvert and spreads out into an earthen channel.
Right.
And those are designed to help slow down the water so they don't erode the dirt. They may have an effect, but I would venture to say it's very minimal, if any, on the upstream water surface elevation.
Yes.
So do you think that they're on Collegiate, between Collegiate and Clarksville, that earthen ditch, I'm pointing to it like I can think y'all can see it, behind the shopping center there, do you think if that was concreted that it would make things go on down on the other side of Clarksville faster?
I don't believe so. And here's why. Mother Nature has a really funny way of kind of making its way known. In an earthen channel, if it needs more capacity, it's just going to take it. There's nothing there to prevent the water from scouring more dirt away, and that channel will just naturally enlarge itself to the size it needs to be to accommodate that flow. So unless you're getting water to it faster, it's at the capacity it needs to. Now, if you were to improve upstream and make the flows coming into that area higher, then you would need to do something to improve the capacity downstream in that section.
That's
So
where we say
do you think
downstream up.
do you think just cleaning that earthen part out would help?
It may, I doubt it. The actual modeling doesn't tell us that that's a flooding area. And the actual, I can't remember, I believe it's a doctor's office right there on that large
Yeah.
portion.
Dr. Trout?
Is that's like a cardiac center or something? I
Well,
think?
no, he's right on the corner. You've got a cardiac center, and then in the strip center, he's right on the ditch.
That northernmost building in that stretch on the west side of the tributary actually has what's called a loamer. And what that is FEMA's actually said, this doesn't flood. This property doesn't flood.
Yeah, it
It's-
hasn't.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if doing any of that would make the water upstream come on down faster.
I would be highly doubtful that it would.
Because I know,
That
we
area's
got
not flooding.
a lot, I don't know if y'all were in Paris on Monday or not, but we got a significant rain. And she got garage and front porch again, and they're on Culbertson. And then I had a gentleman that said people were moving their cars because it was getting up on the driveways again. And so it didn't get in the houses, but it came real close again. And so here we are a year later, and we're still having problems, so.
I have one more
Yep.
question. That rain event that happened a few days ago, do you have any classification for that? Was that a large enough event, or do you even know? How many inches do we have? Do we know?
I live there on Simpson, and I had a little over 5 inches
Yeah,
in my,
a little over 5
in my
inches.
gauge.
I mean, I was wondering if we had did we just have another 10-year event or a 25-year event? What did we just have? Just, you know.
I wasn't in Paris last week, not here or France. And I actually hadn't heard of the storm until the end of last week when we spoke with the city engineer. And I hadn't had a chance to pull any of the data available for that, so I'm not sure.
Okay, but I would, like I said, I would also appreciate the breakdown of how much it would cost. And again, it's just an enormous thing that the city's looking at, not just this area, but other areas also. Of course, this is my area, so I'm particular to it. And don't want anybody in the city to flood, but I also know we don't have millions and millions and millions of dollars to spend.
So thank you. Other than some of my critical comments, I think it was very beneficial, quite honestly, because if you can prevent us from wasting more money on doing things that will eventually really not achieve anything, I think it's worthwhile to spend that money to find out instead of spending the money and still having the flooding. So I thought whether good news or bad news, I think it's important news, and so I think that's very good. I do think instead of doing more studies, we should concentrate on cleaning the ditches whatever we can, because I think that, I haven't surveyed every home, but the general feeling is that people have been better off ever since we started cleaning. And I think I don't remember, but I think we allocated $450,000 for it or something of.
This work?
No, not for this work, for the cleanup work, for the ditch cleaning.
The total cost was 1.8 million.
Okay.
We spent about 2/3.
Okay, all right. So I think it was money well spent.
And I think we need to continue, because I know that people that have called me since Monday said, you know, they saw a difference because of the cleaning that has been done. But also, if you drive around, you see it's growing back up and it's filling back up. And so it's going to be an ongoing thing that we're going to have to do.
So thank you again.
All right, thank you.
Item number 13 is discuss and act on amendments to 2016-17 PEDC budget. Mr. Paris.
Good afternoon,
By the way, thank you for coming earlier today.
Absolutely. Thanks for inviting me. Good afternoon, council. Good afternoon, mayor. I am here to present our budget amendments for the Paris Economic Development Corporation. I have color-coded the spreadsheet. Is your spreadsheet color-coded as well? Okay.
We don't see a spreadsheet right now.
Oh, you do not?
It's on the
It's on our.
Okay, all right, okay.
Oh.
I didn't have.
Thank you. I was going to say, my
I
goodness.
borrow somebody's.
The first item, the blue, is a transfer of funds within our budget. That transfer is $23,000 from contract labor, which was RPM staffing. Mayor, would you? I'm sorry, I should have brought more copies. Would you like me to repeat this, Mayor?
Yes, please. Can you?
Absolutely. The first item is highlighted in blue, and it is a transfer of funds within the budget. And so we are looking at a transfer of $23,000 from the contract labor, which is RPM staffing, up into personnel, $21,000 towards salaries and wages, and then $2,000 towards Social Security and Medicare. All of the staff at the Paris Economic Development Corporation are now full-time FTE employees, and so they have moved from contract labor to personnel, and we wanted to make those changes appropriately. Highlighted in green are the budget items that we have increased and are seeking your vote today to solidify this increase. The first item is account number 0104, which is insurance benefits. The Paris Economic Development Corporation Board approved benefits through the Texas Municipal League, and it did increase the cost of benefits for all 3 employees, and that cost was $8,500. The next item I'd like to, if you could move down the list where you see direct business incentives. Let me highlight first item account number 0025, which is the Park Street project. Park Street is right next to Potter's Industries and Acus Industries, and that's where we enhance that road with cement, till, and we're looking at the weather to clear up a bit so we can get some chip seal on there. But they did finish the work, did good work. Again, we're just hoping to get it finished here pretty soon. But we had that budget item of $60,000. I believe we received our invoices around $59,000 plus. Account number 0053, which is Potter's Industries. We have $8,000 there. The end of 2016, they were not paid, even though they had met compliance, and that part of that compliance is a 5-year term in which they maintain 10 employees for $800 a job, which is the $8,000. So since they were not paid during that fiscal year, we included it into this fiscal year, so you have a payout of $16,000, but we're making sure that $8,000 is included. Powder Innovations, they did not meet their incentive goals, and therefore that land went back to the Paris Economic Development Corporation, but we did have taxes. They are in business. They do have employees there, but they did not meet the guidelines that we had outlined in their incentives. So the taxes equated around $1,276.77. So in total, we're looking at a budget amendment to add $77,776.77. I tried to get as many sevens in there as I could. Did I say a dollar more? Thank you. But anyway, this is our budget amendment. We always, as I understand, we always try to do this before the fiscal year ends so that we can make sure we have a good, clean budget for the audit coming up. Any questions?
Anyone have any questions?
Thank you.
Motion to approve? All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? No. The time now is 6:29 PM. We are on item number 14, convene into executive session pursuant to 551.087 of Texas Government Code to discuss or deliberate regarding commercial or financial information that the governmental body has received from a business prospect that the governmental body seeks to have locate, stay, or expand in or near territory of the governmental body and with which the governmental body is conducting economic development negotiations, or to deliberate the offer of a financial or other incentive to a business prospect described by subdivision as follows: Project Sunbird and Project Wind Cave. So the time now is 6:30 PM. We'll go into executive session. I do want to ask a question of all the council members and the city attorney on this. There are other council members who will be coming on board. Would it be a problem if we let them come into the executive session? Because eventually after the next meeting, they're going to be the ones, so they should hear it. So if nobody else has any objection to it,
Can we legally do it?
Well, if they are necessary to conduct the business, and I suppose that they could be deemed as necessary because they're coming on to the council,
so we should
then I
invite
suppose
them
we
to
can do
come in
that.
so that they can hear it too. As long as there's no legal issue with it, I'd like to ask them to come in. Nobody has any objections? Okay. Whoever the council members to be are, they can come in. All right. The time is 6:49 PM. We are out of the executive session. The PEDC director gave us an update on the projects that have come across him, and he will keep us and the city posted as things progress further. Item number 16 is consider and approve future events for the city council and or city staff pursuant to resolution 2004-081.
Two quick things, just a reminder that your next council meeting is the 15th, not the 8th. And because of that, want to mention the Wings Over Paris Air Show at Cox Field is Saturday the 13th, so it will be before the next council meeting.
Okay. Sounds good. Anybody else?
So I got the mailer. Does early voting start today?
I haven't gotten the mailer. I was going to ask about
We
that.
went to Mail Plus, I think Friday, so
Okay.
a
I was
couple people
wondering
got it Saturday, so it kind of depends on
where you're at.
Where you are.
or whatever they call it.
Okay.
Do we send any of that out by email as well? Does the city have a list of email addresses?
Your mic is faced completely off.
We just have the old-fashioned mail. We don't have a uniform list or a comprehensive list of folks.
I'm going to put this item on this and just ask, is there a possibility that while we are sending bills out, that those kind of emails can be obtained so that in future the city, just like we have progressed to having iPads, we could do.
Sure.
No, not everyone uses email, I understand, but for the people who use it might be.
Yeah, there's a way, we could have them sign up for that sort of communication, and other communications as
Yeah.
well. It would be good.
Yeah. Mr. Sprierson,
So moved.
second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, the meeting is adjourned.